First of all, yet I'll say we thank everybody for tuning in, joining in with us. For those who are unaware, I'm Odwirafo Kwesi Radnehambata, Akan Odwirafo of Akwamu Mine, Amaduka Tifi Mudi Akwamu Nation, in North America within Ojira Mine, the purified nation, Afurakani people in the Western Hemisphere, also founder of Hoodoo Religion, the Hearth Shrine of Akan Ancestral Religion in North America. So this is part of a series that we've been doing on the Hoodoo tradition. And of course, as we have proven in multiple publications and broadcasts and so forth, Hoodoo is specifically Akan Ancestral Religion in North America. So when people talk about Hoodoo being, from the, Ewe or the Yoruba or the Congo or, a combination, or the Mende people or the combination of different groups plus pseudo-Native Americanism or pseudo European esotericism, that's all misinformation. Hoodoo is specifically the Akan Ancestral Religion brought by Akan ancestresses and ancestors into North America during the Mmusuo Kese, the Great Perversity, the Enslavement era. And we continued that tradition. Now, tonight we want to talk about Adanko, which is the term for hair. Adanko is the male term for hair. Adankowaa is the female term for hair. That includes the rabbit and so forth, but the origin, the Akan origin of the rabbit's foot talisman in the Hoodoo tradition. Now, first, let's go back to, we're going to go to our book. We're going to go to our Hoodoo People book right quick to get some details. Now, this is our seminal work on the Hoodoo tradition and the Akan identity of the Hoodoo tradition. Of course, you can download the book for free. And in the book, we start talking about, first and foremost, the term Hoodoo itself, Undu itself. And actually, before we get to that, let me pull up another piece real quick. Okay. So we did our recent Hoodoo Mine, Hoodoo Nation festival, and you will see that this is one of the documents that we covered in the Hoodoo Mine, Hoodoo Nation festival. We talked about Akan cosmological terms preserved in Hoodoo. And we went through, and we've done broadcasts on each one of these. We talked about the Akan term Undu being the origin of the term Hoodoo in North America. The Akan term Kanche, which means ka, means to utter incantations, ache, to bring the spirits forward, Kanche in the Akan language, to utter incantations to bring the spirits forward. Kanche is the origin of the term Kanje, like Kanje man, Kanje woman, which was corrupted into conjurer man and conjurer woman, but it's the term Kanche. We did an extensive analysis of the term Hinti, an Akan term that has to do with the nature of spirits that are hidden, but also fiery, roused up spirits and so forth. And that Akan term Hinti, describing these kinds of spirits, is the term Hint in English, describing a certain type of spirit and a certain character of spirit and so forth in the Hoodoo tradition. The Akan term Komfo and Komfoa in the Asante dialect is the origin of the Gofo and Gofwa or Gofa, doctor and Gofa dust and so forth. That is a form of priest and priestess and so forth. We went into detail about that. Jama, Kakaru, talking about King Jama, whose name was corrupted into Joni by the Danes when he was enslaved in the Caribbean in so-called 1733, when the Akwamu people, the Akwamu Akan people took over the entire island of St. John's for 6 months. And, they waged war, took over the island until the revolt was put down. but King Jama, or Asafohene Jama, he was the individual, the lieutenant of the Akwamuhene, the lieutenant of the Akwamu king, meaning the Asafohene, the warrior chief of the Akwamu king. He was a royal and so forth. The natives called him, his own native people who were enslaved with him, once they were all on the plantation, they still recognized him as a royal, called him Ohene, which is chief for a king and so forth. In English, and the Danes who enslaved them, they called him King Joni. His name was King Jama, but they called him King Joni. And the root, the sacred root utilized is the kakaru, and that was corrupted into kakaru and conqueror root. So High John the Conqueror, with the High John the Conqueror root, or Johnny Conquer root and so forth. It's a corruption of Jama, who the Danes called Joni, what we call Jama, and the root itself is kakaru and so forth. So we talked about that in detail. Jo, meaning to lament, through ritual wailing and so forth. It's an ordinal term, shout, and we have the ring shout dance in the Akan tradition that continued in North America. And we had the mojo and the jackball, which is moja and ja in Akan. So we went through all of that. And in this particular document, we show the moja in Akan is the mojo. It is the matriclan talisman dealing with the ovulatory and menstrual blood and so forth. And then you have the ja, also called edja, padie, the jackball and so forth, which is a patriclan talisman. And we go into detail showing that the male and female forces in creation that govern the mojo and the jack. And of course, the red flannel bag, the mojo bag, the term mojo means blood, ovulatory blood, menstrual blood, and so forth. That is the endometrium inside the woman and so forth. And the jack, or the ja, is the patriclan divinity passed on through the patriclan lineage and so forth. That is connected to the reproductive organs of the male and so forth. So all of that we went into some detail about, just to give some background on our recent Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation festival. And just so you can see, if you missed that, the entire 4-hour broadcast is up. And just so you can see our page, if you missed that, you'll see that we had our 8th annual Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation festival. We did it virtual this year. It was on October 15th. That's the flyer for the Hoodoo Mind, Hoodoo Nation festival. And this is the video where we did the different presentations that were, that we put forward. It's a 4-hour video, and we go into detail about a number of different things. So, but we're going to get back to this, specifically to the term undu. Because when we talk about the talisman, the hare or the rabbit's foot talisman, that is specifically an Akan cosmological function, entity, and it's a great deal of information that's associated with that. Of course, different Afurakani groups, ethnic groups, whether they're Ewe or Yoruba or Fon or, Mendi and so forth, the various major animals are totems in these different cultures. For example, the Odenchem, the Akan term for crocodile, that is an animal totem, and akyeneboa, or animal totem, for example, for the patriclan abosom, the Ntoro, or the patriclan abosom, the father's abosom, the Eja abosom, called bosom Afram, the spirit that animates the river Afram in the region of Ghana today, but also beyond the river Afram, but that's a sacred shrine for the divinity Afram. His sacred animal totem is the Odenchem, the crocodile. The same with the deity Pra, also called Bosom Pra, the deity Pra. In the Akan tradition, the Odenchem is a sacred crocodile, sacred animal totem. In Vodun, that sacred crocodile is called Ajakpa. In ancient Kemet, that sacred crocodile divinity is called Sobek and so forth. So different groups, we recognize these same forces in nature and the sacred animal totems, and we recognize the sacredness of these different animal totems. So recognizing the crocodile is not unique to Akan, of course, it's with Ebe and Yoruba and other groups, recognizing the sacredness of the hare or rabbit as an animal totem isn't simply only related to Akan people, because other people recognize the hare, and we will show the male and female hare deity in ancient Kemet and so forth that still exists in the Akan tradition. So it's not that the Akan people are the only ones who knew that the hare was an animal totem. But when it comes to the Hoodoo tradition and the rabbit's foot talisman and the association of the rabbit's foot and the rabbit itself, which is the hare, because in North America, the rabbit, you have the bunny rabbit, but then the hare in the South is also called a rabbit. It's called a jack rabbit. So whether it's a jack rabbit's foot or a bunny rabbit's foot, we're talking about the rabbit's foot, the hare, or the rabbit. So the association of the hare with the sacred animal totem, but also with regard to the Hoodoo tradition specifically, that's an Akan, cultural identity piece. Now we're going to prove that. It didn't come from some pseudo-Native American nonsense or anything else. So first, in our Hoodoo People book, we define the term Hoodoo. And we were showing in this book, we also showed that that same term exists in ancient Khanit and Kamit, Nubia and Egypt, and so forth. And we were showing linguistically the term Eduru. Eduru means medicine. That's singular. Like you give somebody, you have a medicine for, congestion, or a medicine for different things. That's Eduru. But the plural, medicine in general, like you have all of this medicine. You can say medicine as a singular thing or medicine as a plural. Singular in Akan is Eduru. Plural, as you can see here in the Asante Fanti Tree Dictionary, the PL plural, you put the N in front as prefix. So Eduru, singular. Nduru is plural. Eduru and Nduru. So Nduru is the plural. That's in the Asante dialect. In the Akwamu dialect, instead of Eduru is Edu, and plural instead of Nduru is Undu without the RU at the end. So we show that to show the root is du in the Akan, or in this particular dictionary that's referencing the Achim and the Asante. Du in the Akwamu dialect is Duru in the Asante dialect. So there are two different dialects. And that's going to be important. So we show that in the Akwamu dialect, the root is du. Asante dialect, duru, singular, eduru, plural, nduru. And so we show that. Now, but the plural ndu in the Akwamu dialect is the origin of the term hoodoo and so forth. So what does that mean? Eduru, plural nduru or ndu, powder, medicine, drug, physics, physic. This is the medicine for his sickness. Then we show Ndun in ancient Kemet, meaning the same thing. Where does the medicine come from? Dua or dria, to plant. That's the verb, to put into the ground. Edria, singular. And then once again, you put the N as a prefix. Ndua or ndria, plural. It means plant, tree, shrub, stem or stalk of a plant, or its leaf or fruit and so forth. Wood, piece of wood, something made of wood, stick pole. So the sticks, the plants, the plant, tree, shrub, and so forth. Singular, edua or edria. Singular, ndua or ndria. So the undu, the medicine, comes from the undua, the plants, trees, shrubs, and so forth. So the undu, the hoodoo, comes from the hoodooa, the plant, tree, and shrub. I mean, we also show the same term, undun, as a kind of tree in ancient Kemet. And then we get into names of different practitioners. Then we also show that the term duru also means to be weighty, heavy, or weighty. Duru, heavy, weighty. Once again, in the Akwamu dialect, it's du. In the Asante dialect, it's duru. heaviness or weight. That means when you become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession or spirit communication. When someone gets possessed, they become heavy. So that's du or duru. So undu means medicine. The undu is coming from the unduwa, plants, trees, shrubs, and so forth. But du also means become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession, spirit communication, heavy, weighty. Same undun, to be heavier weight in ancient Kemet, same term. Then you also have finally the term duru. And once again, you see in the Akwamu dialect is du, and plural will be undu, to descend, dismount, alight, come or go down. Hold on a second, let me make sure we, all right. To descend, dismount, alight, or come down. To descend into, to strike of lightning, or prana, du, driam. Let's talk about the lightning strikes a tree. When something is coming down, like the spirit coming down to possess someone, it's descending, it's alighting upon, it's descending into, and so forth, and penetrating. The spirit gets inside the body of the person. To feel a presentiment, foreboding, he has a presentiment of, or his heart forebodes fearful things. So undu means medicine. It's from the unduwa, plant, trees, and shrubs, and so forth. So the undu is the medicine from roots, trees, plant life. Undu also means to become heavy, as in heavy with the spirit through spirit communication, spirit possession. Undu also means to feel a presentiment or foreboding. So when you engage the ritual medicine, the spirit comes down and possesses you, become heavy, and then you have a presentiment or foreboding of what's unfolding in the spirit realm, of what's going to take place in the future and so forth. That is what we're talking about. Now, so we have, only in the Akan language, you have that proper etymology. When people try to misnomer the terms and try to say it comes from the Irish and the Jews and the Ewe or the Congo and so forth, they have no basis for that. They were just assuming, or usually repeating what Europeans had to say, but they were looking at other ethnic groups trying to find origins of terms, but they didn't look in the Akan ethnic group, which is where the culture comes from. Now, in the same dictionary, we want to point out, you have a prefix for words in the Akan language, like you have nipa, which means person. Onipa means a person. That's a prefix, the o, onipa. Nipa, you put the n in front, that means people, more than one person. So you can have a prefix. You can also have suffixes. Akan, like Akan fo, means Akan people. Odun sini fo, the group of people fo, who are Odun sin and so forth. That's a suffix. But you also have an infix. You can extend what they call a stem, that's enlarged by affixes or affixes, and infix, and one of the infixes, so prefixes at the beginning, of a term and so forth. A suffix is at the end of a term, but the infix linguistically is within the term. By infixing R, also, or N when the vowel is nasal, but by infixing R, you can infix an R within an Akan term. So for example, if you have the term ko, and you infix the R sound, which gives it extra power and so forth. 1 second. All right, so you have the ko, you infix the R sound, it becomes ko, ro. You enlarge the stem. The stem is ko, you enlarge it with the R, or the power sound, the rolling energy, the R sound. So ko becomes ko, ro. And the final vowel is the same as the first. You have the term pa, that's a stem. If you want to enlarge the stem, enforce or expand it with power, you add the R at the end of pa, so it becomes pa, ra. And that's why you have para, and they'll contract it sometimes to pra and so forth. Ba means to come. If you expand it by adding the ra at the end, is ba, ra, which is bara, and you'll see bara, same thing. So you'll find the same thing with so and soro, both meaning up and sky and heavenly and so forth above. So you have the same thing with do. You add the infix, which is the ra, the r, do, and ra becomes do, ru, duru. And this is where you get the difference. And that's going to be very important when we look at this text that we're about to look at. So once again, you have eduru, singular, plural, nduru, but you also have a dialectical variant, the way it was spelled back when they were writing these dictionaries. Typically, they don't spell it like this anymore. 100 years ago, when they were trying to first write down the tree language, they were spelling things differently. They hadn't settled on a specific way to spell it in English. So instead of eduru, you have eduruo, eduro, but technically it's do, and then you expand or enlarge the stem as do, ru, duru. That's in the Asante dialect. But the Akwamu dialect is undu, but you will see eduruo, eduro, unduro, and so forth. Depending on who's writing and the way that they were notating, some will put an O at the end, and Europeans will listen to us speak. They'll say eduru, and they'll put eduro, and they'll just write A-D-U-R-O and so forth. So, but that's going to be important. What's important also is that in the Akwamu dialect, it's undu, and it's the Akwamu people, that branch of the Akan people, that subgroup of the Akan people who gave North America the term undu or hoodoo. If it had been the Asante or some other Akan group, we wouldn't be calling the tradition hoodoo, we would be calling it huduru, huduru from unduru. But since it was the Akwamu people who were dominant, it was the Akwamu people's dialect that was used, and it was undu instead of unduru or huduru and so forth. Now, that linguistic piece is very important because we're going to get to, once again, we saw duru meaning to descend, dismount, alight, the spirit of possession, and the root is do, once again. So we just showed all of that, heavy and weighty. And then we get to the ritual practitioners, dun, nsin, the stump of a tree is nsin. So you have dua, sin, sin means to come to an end, that's the end of the tree and so forth. The dua, which is the tree, nsin, the end or the stump and so forth. So dua sin or dun sin is the stump of the tree, or the stalk. Then you have odun sin ni, that's singular, or adun sin fo, that's plural. Fo means a group of people, like folks. Adun sin fo is the group of people fo who engage in adun sin. They deal with the roots of the trees and so forth. The native physician, medicine man, charmer, sorcerer, wizard, and so forth. Odun sini is singular. Odun sin fo is plural. That is the root. Odun, medicine, sin, doctor. But then we also have ritual specialists.
Quasi?
Yep.
What is the difference between the Odun Sinifo and the Odumafo? Did I get that right? Odumafo?
Yes, actually, so that's exactly the next piece.
Okay.
And you all, can you see just let me know, you can see those different terms here?
Oh, no, the Odun Sinifo and the Oduyefo.
Okay, so now do you see are you seeing Odwirafo on the screen?
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay, good, because they didn't fully explain it here. So this is the difference. And we want to show, first, you have Odwirafo, and they'll also say Odwirafo, Odwirafo. Once again, in the Asante dialect, it's Odwirafo, and the Akwamu dialect is Odwirafo, and they're showing it's the same thing. What they say, to them, they were all medicine men, charmers, and everything else. Ye means to make, to do, to work. Adeye means action, what is done, and so forth. But ye means to make, to do, to work, action. So Odwirafo is the group of people, fo, who work. Ye, the undu, the medicine, the hoodoo, the roots, and so forth. That's the root worker. The Odun Sinifo is the root doctor. So the Odwirafo is like a conjurer. The Odun Sinifo is like the herbalist, even though they communicate with the spirits and so forth, but they know the medicinal use of thousands of plants, and they will go in and tell you what plant will hurt, heal any specific ailment, whether it's the liver, the spleen, or the, circulatory system or nervous system or whatever it is. They're the herbalists. They're dealing specifically, primarily with the medicinal use of thousands of plants as well as minerals and so forth. The Odwirafo is the root worker, to work. They are a conjurer and so forth. They're also dealing with what spirits are affecting somebody. You can utilize, roots for ritual purposes, burning roots and so forth, to release some energy to affect the spirit and so forth. And the Odun Sinifo can do the same thing, but their focus is disease, disease manifesting in the body, tumors, congestion, all these different kinds of things. The root worker, they can do some of that as well, but their focus is what kind of spiritual energy is causing a problem, people directing spirits to people, things like that. They're conjuring spirits and utilizing the medicine ritually. They're burning not just sage and different things like that, but various plants and so forth to affect the result, to repel negative spirits, because sometimes it's not just a medical issue. Sometimes the spirit is plaguing somebody. They need to get that spirit off the person. So the root worker, they'll use the roots and so forth to repel these negative spirits and entities and recalibrate you spiritually. So you have a root doctor, you have a root worker. You have the, physician, and you have the conjurer and so forth. Then you also have the Odumafo. It says Oduru Ma. And so once again, you have Oduru Mafo, and then you also have Odu Mafo. The Akwamu variant is Odumafo. The Asante variant is Oduru Mafo. That's plural fo, one of the group of people, fo, who engage in Oduruma or Oduma, to give, ma, the undu, the hoodoo. And that has to do with conjuring, but it also has to do with divination. Singular, just like if we go up, you'll see Odun Sini. The term ni means to be. So for example, if someone wants to say, I am Akan, we would say me, ye, Akani. Me means me, ye, am or is, Akan, and then Akani, to be, ni, Akan. That's an Akan individual. Akan fo is Akan people. Odun Sini fo is the group of people who engage in ritual medicine. Odun Sin Ni is an individual who deals with the Odun Sin and so forth. And that goes across the board. They didn't put that portion in with regard to Odwirafo. It would be Oduye Ni singular, Odwirafo plural. Oduma Ni singular, Oduma Fo plural. Akan Ni singular, Akan Fo plural. Oduma Ni means to be, Ni. Oduma, that's a singular, but then Oduma Fo. And today, in the way the language is spoken, very often they just use the plural for just across the board. They don't always use the singular, but it is important because Odumani, the singular, is Odumani, becomes Hoodumani, and in English, in North America, that becomes Hooduman or Hoodoo man and so forth. Hoodumani, Hoodoo man and so forth, the Hoodoo woman and so forth. That's the one who gives ma, the Udu, the medicine, the hoodoo, and so forth. Now, so that linguistic piece is important because now we're going to get into why the rabbit's foot or the foot of the hare is directly, specifically dealing with Akan Ancestral Religion, and it's a rabbit's foot talisman. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to It's a couple of stories we want to touch on. And this is, let me just go to the top so you can see this. And this is a book you can download from, archive.org. So, Akan Ashanti Folktales. This was published over 100 years ago. Popular text. There was an individual, Rattray, who was European living amongst the Akan people, the Asante people 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, 120 plus years ago, living amongst the people and started taking down the various folktales, the different stories. They would tell stories about every aspect of life, and then he's just taken down these stories and published them. And as you see in the publication, written in English and in the Tree language. So you have both there. And then people, Akan people today have corroborated these stories to prove, they can, comb through these stories and make sure he was, faithfully recording what the people actually said. So it's not just him coming up with stories. Akan people who are elders and eldresses, not unknown, they've already looked to make sure that these stories were properly recorded. So important part is they have the English and the Twi translation, but it's the Asante Twi translation. If they had been written in Akwamu and so forth, some of the words would be pronounced slightly different, but okay, so let me see. So I want to go to, there are two specific stories we want to get to. Let me find the first one. There are two different stories dealing with the, well, there are a number of stories that deal with Adanko, the hare. And for those who, know when you look at in North America, that becomes Brer Rabbit. So you have Brer Rabbit stories. And of course, they have Brer Wolf and Brer Fox and Brer Anansi. He's in the stories in North America and so forth, compiled in, the Carolinas and so forth, in Georgia, over 100 plus years ago. So, but the Brer Rabbit is actually the Adanko, the hare from the Akan tradition. Brer Anansi, of course, is the Anansi stories from the Akan tradition. Now, there's one in particular, I just want to make sure I get to the right page. And you can go, when you go to archive.org, you can always download some of these older texts for free. Okay, here it is. So page 230. So these are the two that we want to look at, just so you can see them in the index. So one of them is how it came about that Kramine, the dog, can never be cured of his thieving ways. And the other one is on any path when you see that Osebo the leopard has scratched, there Adanko the hare has already passed. So the first one is on page 230. Okay, so as you can see, they will have the Twi language version first, and they'll go page by page. They'll have one page of it, then they'll have the English version, then the next page, and so forth. So you see it's in Twi, Seyoye, Akramine, Korono, Ampa, Nesoda. And then when you continue to scroll down, how it came about that Kramine the dog can never be cured of his thieving ways. So we're going to look at both we have to look at the tree language because this is the proof of what we're talking about now. So the story says there once was a dog. The term Kramai means dog. And because of his thieving habits, he could not get a woman of his own village to marry him. So he set out for a certain town to go and get a female to mate with him. He married and returned with her to his village. He and his wife lived there for a time when she set out and went back to her village. After a time, her husband sent a message saying he was coming there. His father-in-law took his gun and went off to the bush to kill an antelope in preparation for the dog's arrival. About 3 days later, the dog went there, and when he went, he saw that the flesh of an antelope was on the fire in the courtyard. When night came, he and his wife went to rest. The dog was about to step outside to make water to use the bathroom, and when he saw the meat with fat dripping into the fire, the dog returned and went and lay down, and he put his head upon the pillow and lay and gazed long at the meat. Now the scent of the meat reached him. He tried to bear it, but he could not. Oh, up he rose and went to where the meat was. He chewed it all up and returned and lay down. Early the next day, when things became visible, when his wife was going to sleep, she looked for the meat. Not even one piece was there. And of course, they, killed the antelope to feed the whole village to, celebrate him arriving to, be with his wife. And he ate all the meat in the middle of the night. And so his wife said, oh mother, someone has chewed up all the meat. When the dog heard this, his eyes died, meaning he was ashamed. And he took his cloth and covered his head and lay there silent. Then all at once, he rose up and set out on the path. He fled to his own village and told the news how he had gone and chewed his father-in-law's meat and how his eyes had died for shame and how because of that, he was going in search of someone who possessed an antidote for thieving, that he might be given some. The people said, Adanko, the hare, has some very, very, very powerful medicine. The dog set out, and with speed, he reached the hare's village, and he said, Father Hare, I run to you for help. I am a thief. And they say that you have medicine that is a cure for that. So I implore you, give me some, and whatever is the cost, I shall pay. The hare replied, it is true, I have some, so go and bring me some pig's meat. So the first portion, the most important part for the purpose of this discussion, first of all, let's look at the tree language version. So, of course, the dog runs back to his village. He stole some, the meat and everything, and he wanted to go get some medicine to help him from stealing all the time. And the people, here he translated as people, but it's actually Nkrofo or Nkrofo. That's the group of people, Fo, who are in the Kuro, which means the town or the village. So Nkrofo are the group of individuals, Fo, who are in the Kuro, the town. It means the town's people or the villagers, the people in the village. So the villagers, Nkrofo no se, the villagers said, Adanko na owo bi den. Adanko is the hare. Owo means possesses, and den. Den means hard or strong. So den means hard, den, hard. The word, for example, for health in Akan is ahwa den. Den means hard, and ahun means self or body. So ahwa den means a hard body. And a hard body is considered a strong body, and a strong body is a healthy body. So ahwa den, hard body, means strong body, means quote unquote health. Den means hard or also strong. Den means hard or strong. And they said, Adanko na owo, he possesses some den. Some strong. And it says, the people said Adanko, the hare, has some very powerful medicine. So that's how he translated, but it means hard, a strong medicine. Then we go back up. And it says, Okramine sim di minika koduru Adanko krom. He went to go see Adanko. And Ose means he said, Ose, he, Ose said, Eja, Adanko, and it means father, hare, mi, Juane, mi toi, wo, and that means he fled. So when you go back down to the English section, and this is a way to, begin to learn the tree language and so forth. He said, Father, hare, I have run to you for help. I am a thief, and they say that you have medicine that is a cure. So you go back up, and he says, Eja Adanko, which is father, Eja, hare, mi driane, mi toi, wo, I have fled to you. Mabo chrono, mabo, talking about I'm a thief. Ye, say, meaning they, ye, say, wo na, wo, you possess, wo, aduro, you possess, aduro. He wrote it as aduro here. And let's go back one more time. As you can see, he wrote it in the Asante dialectical variant, aduro. So he wrote it in the Asante dialect because he was in the Asante region. See, eduro, singular, nduru, plural. And as you can see, some of the variants, aduruo, aduro, singular, and nduro. So he put the N, apostrophe, aduro, and so forth. But it says, they say that you possess nduro. In Akwamu, it would have said, they say you possess undu, you possess hoodoo, and that's what we're talking about. So now there's a direct association with Adanko, the hare, who is the one who possesses the undu or the hoodoo. Even though there are other groups like Eve and Yoruba and Basa and others who know that the hare is a sacred animal totem, you won't find in any of their languages that the hare possesses undu or hoodoo. They would have the word for medicine in their language. But in the Akan language, the hare is the one who possesses the hoodoo or the undu. And also, just cosmologically, they don't always have the hare as a spiritualist. The hare is a swift one or a trickster and so forth. But in the Akan tradition, the hare is an Odumafo. The hare is an Odun Sinifo. The hare is a root doctor. The hare is a hoodoo, as proven in the language here. So it says right here, he has the medicine. And then Adanko said, Ampa, me wo be, I have some, me wo be, me wo possess, be some. And he says, and go and get me some pig's meat and so forth. Now, so the villagers said that the hare has the strong, the den, undu, the strong hoodoo. Then the dog Pramine goes to the hare. It says the villagers say that you have the undu or unduru, the undu, and the hare affirms that, yes, I do have it. Now go get me some pig's meat and I'm going to make some medicine. The dog set out and went to a certain village and got one hind leg for a domafa's weight of gold dust and came with it. The hare cooked it and cut it up and spitted it on a little wooden skewers. And he ground down peppers and salt and onions and rubbed it into the meat and placed it on the fire. When the fire touched it after a time, the dog heard it sizzling. The dog watched it for a long time. Now the hare said, dog, you go and sleep in one of the rooms and I too shall go and sleep in another. And tomorrow early, I shall take this meat off the fire and make medicine with it for you. Now, let me scroll back up real quick. So what it says right here is Adanko say, meaning the Hare says, Ohomi, dine, say Ochina. So he's going to lay down. Ochina means tomorrow. And then mi de aye aduru ama wo. I'm going to make ye aduru medicine for and give it to you. Ma means to give and wo means to you and so forth. Aye aduru, to make, ye aduru. So that's the Odwirafo, the odu and ye, to ye, duru is to make duru or to make the medicine. So Odwirafo is the conjure and so forth. So the Adanko said, I'm going to make the eduru, I'm going to make the nduru, I'm going to make the hoodoo for you. Now, so the dog went off to sleep, the hare went off to sleep, the dog lay and lay, but he could not sleep, and the scent of meat came upon him through his nose, but he did not speak. Now he smelt it again, and he said, Father Hare. The hare replied, yes. He said, there are mice in your village, so I'm going to fetch the meat and put it beside me. The hare said, go and get it. As for me, all I care about is that I lay my hands on it tomorrow in order that I may make medicine with it for you. So the dog went and fetched it. Now the dog lay there. He said, Father Hare. He replied, yes. He said, the mice will chew it, so I am going to put it under my pillow and go to sleep. The hare said, all I care about is that tomorrow when things become clear, I will make the medicine with it for you. The dog lay down once more. Try as he would, he could not contain himself. So he kept coming up with excuses about how he needed to grab the meat before tomorrow. And then he said, these mice have come under my pillow, so I'm going to take the meat and I'm going to put it on my head, and there I will stand until things become visible. And the hare said, oh, I keep saying all that concerns me is that I get the meat tomorrow to make medicine for you. The dog took the meat and set it on his head, and there he stood. Then a little of the gravy trickled down his face, and he licked it. He said, Father Hare, as for this meat, those mice have climbed up upon me and come upon my head, so I'm going to hold the meat in my mouth. And the hare replied, I keep saying tomorrow when things become visible, I shall make the medicine with it for you. Now it was fast in his mouth, and he wandered round and round the room there. He wagged his tail. He said, Father Hare, let me be in debt to you for this meat. The hare said, what do you want to be in debt about it for? The dog replied, I mean, rather than these mice should eat it, let me pay you for it. The hare said, oh no, let the morrow's dawn come. But now the dog let the meat go down his throat. Then he fell down and slept. Next morning, very, very early, the hare said, dog, bring me that meat. The dog replied, Father Hare, why did you not hear what I said to you yesterday, that I should be in your debt for the meat? The hare said, so you have eaten it? The dog said, yes, I ate it, for I bought it. And the hare said, you dog, theft that is called theft will never pass you by. So, but the important thing is, even the dog was trying to steal the meat and he couldn't keep himself from eating it. The key is that the villagers, if you needed some medicine, they said, hey, you need to go to the Adanko, the hare. He has the medicine, the nduru, the undu. He has the den, the strong, undu or hoodoo. So that's a direct association with hoodoo itself with the hare. And in North America, as we said before, you have the bunny rabbit, which is the regular rabbit, and the hare is called the jack rabbit. So there's an association there in North America. Now, that's one cosmological piece. But then there's another even further detailed cosmological piece that's very important. So this particular story is on any path where you see that Osebo, the leopard, has scratched there, Adanko, the hare, has already passed. Now, we're going to get into this actually. Second. You look, so we have a hare right here, we have the rabbit's foot, but then we also have the female hare divinity, Unu, who's also Unungo, and so forth. And you have the male divinity, Unungo. We're going to get into that. So, and you see the hare on the standard. There's the nome, the 15th nome or Sepat, administrative division of the country of Kemet, so-called state, the 15th state. 15th nome is the nome of the hare of Unut. She's also called Ununko, and so forth. We get into that. So when you look in the tree language, it says Yese Osebo ne Osebowa ne Adanko ne Adankowaa. Osebo means leopard. Osebowa is the leopardess, the female leopard. Adanko is the hare. Adankowaa is the female hare. All right. So they say that the male leopard and female leopard and male hare, female hare once lived in a small village and hunger came. Then the female leopard said she was going to the stream and she was going. As she was going, she met the female hare grinding corn. The female leopard, which is Osebowa, said, "Ah, mother, where did you get such thing? Where did you get this corn?" Because they were all hungry. The female hare, Adankowaa, replied, "There's a wide path which stretches behind here. My husband was following," let's scroll down, was following it to go in search of wild yams, and he went and got this corn. So take this and go and cook and chew it or eat it. She replied, "Thank you, Aku." And Aku shows that she was connected with the divinity of Wednesday, Akua, and so forth. Praise, Crydean soul name for Wednesday born. So then the female leopard, Osebowa, took it off home to go and set it on the fire. Her husband came, the male leopard, Osebo. He asked her, "Where did you get that corn?" She said, "The female hare, Adankowaa, gave it to me." And she said that a wide path lies behind there, and that her husband took it and brought some corn and came with it. So the male leopard said, "Tomorrow, I'll go there very, very early in the morning." And so he set out. When he went, there was corn in plenty. He took his knife and cut some, and he made a palm leaf basket, gathered up the corn, placed it in the basket and so forth. And now Adanko, the male hare, was at his house. He saw that the male leopard had passed to the farm. And once he too set off, he came to the end of the town. He turned into a duiker, which is a form of antelope or animal and so forth. Half of it was rotten. Half of the crops were rotten. Half was not yet rotten. And he went further on and he turned into an oyuo, an antelope. Half of the crops were rotten. Half of it was not yet rotten. He went on, the hare went on, and he turned into a bongo. Half of it was rotten. Half of the crops were not yet rotten. And he went on and turned into a buffalo. The whole of it was fresh. Now, let's stop right there. And what we're talking about here, and this is the difference in this particular story, and I'm gonna go to our Hoodoo Jase Dying page real quick. In our Hoodoo Jase Dying page, which is our Hoodoo Shrine House page, our Hoodoo Temple page, and so forth, we were talking about the origin of the term Hoodoo Jase Dying. And you'll see that the term Jase means the fire, the hearth, which is the, where the food is made. Odine means house, native house or room, shrine space. Dine means to apply to seek the protection of or put oneself under the protection of. But dain also means to turn, to give another direction, tendency, or inclination, to change, alter, and also to turn, transform, change into, to become by a sudden transformation. Obayifo, dain, neho, or sebo, here they say wizard, the male, quote unquote, witch, Obayifo, transforms himself into a leper. That's a shape-shifting thing that the Obayifo is a class of, ritual specialists that in English would be called witches and sorcerers and so forth, that deal with the body, spirits, and so forth. But dain means to transform, and that includes spiritual transformation, shape-shifting from one form to another that ritual specialists can do. The Obayifo, the witch, transforms himself into a leper. So the reason why that's important, of course, is because we just saw that the text says that Adanko, he transformed himself into a duiker, then he transformed himself into an oyuo, which is an antelope. He transformed himself into a bongo. He transformed himself into a buffalo. We just found out in the first story that Adanko, the hare, has the medicine that can heal, that can cure. And all of the villagers said, if you want some medicine, all of them in consensus said, you need to go to Adanko because he has the den, undu, the medicine, the hoodoo. Now in this story, they're showing that Adanko not only has the medicine, but he's a shapeshifter. He's a ritual specialist. He's an Odwirafo. He can transform his spirit body into the form of another entity. So he transformed into different animals and so forth. He was looking at the area and saw half of the crops were fresh and half were rotten. And then he saw the whole of this region was fresh. So now the leper was coming along carrying the basket and corn on his head. He came and met the buffalo. And the leper said to himself, a famine will come, but it has not yet become severe, yet these beasts are dying. So he passed by the buffalo. He thought the buffalo was a regular buffalo, but it was actually the hare. All right. So he said, these beasts are dying, but he passed right by the buffalo. He kept going. Then he came upon the bongo. Since he didn't stop to communicate with the buffalo and kept going, he went and he came across the bongo. But of course, that was Adanko who had transformed himself into a bongo and put himself in front of the leper once again. He passed by it and came upon the oyuo, which is the antelope. He kept going. That was once again Adanko the hare who had transformed himself into an antelope, trying to get the leopard's attention. The leopard kept going with the corn and so forth. He went past him. He came upon the duiker. Then he said, oh, these beasts are indeed many, so I shall go and collect them. He threw down the basket and corn and set out to go and fetch the animals, beginning from that first one. When he went, they were no longer there. Then he came back, but the basket and corn were also gone. So Adanko the hare transformed himself into different animals. The leopard, the kind of animals that the leopard would normally kill and eat as soon as he saw them. But since he had a basket of corn, he was like, well, I don't need them. I have food. So he just kept going. He transformed himself into another animal, a buffalo, an antelope, and so forth. The leopard kept going. But at some point he said, man, there are a lot of animals out here. I can put the corn down and I can go and eat them. So he went back, he put the corn down, went to go kill those animals and eat them. And they were gone. So they vanished as far as he could see. Of course, they were all Adanko, him taking different forms. Then he comes back, and now the corn is gone because while he was going to find these animals to kill, Adanko has transformed himself back into his hare form, and he took that basket of corn and took it away. Now, so then he came back, but the basket of corn was gone. He went off home and sat down in silence. His wife, the female leopard, Osebowa, asked him, where's the corn? He said, I went there, but I could not get any to buy. Now, the female leopard went off to the stream, and there she met the female hare. The female leopard said, all I have to say is that yesterday my husband said that when he went, he did not get any corn to buy. The female hare replied, "He is deceiving you, for yesterday when he went and got some, my husband beat him and relieved him of it." The female leopard set off home. She informed her husband saying, "Well done, well done, well done. You said you went and didn't get any corn, while it was that hare who beat you and took it out of your hands." And the leopard said, "Who is the hare?" Because at that point he hadn't seen the hare. He thought he saw some other animals. He said, "Who is the hare? Tomorrow I shall go and have a fight with him with sticks." Now, Adanko, the male hare, sat at home and he heard this. He was hearing what the leopard and leopardess were saying in their home. He's at his own home, but he can hear what they're saying. He's a ritual specialist. He can transform and shapeshift into different animals, spirit body, and so forth. He can also hear, attune clairaudiently what these other individuals are saying. Remote viewing, remote hearing, and so forth. So he heard this. Now, he went and said to his wife, "Tomorrow the male leopard will come here to have a fight with me. Therefore, I shall go and meet him on the way, for perhaps you will be afraid." So he's like, "I'm going to meet him before he gets to our house, because I don't want you to be afraid." The next morning, when things became visible, the hare started off. So Adanko went off and he's going to meet the leopard. He reached the outskirts of the town and he turned into an Adowa antelope. And he was vomiting up white clay, charcoal, and blood. He went on in front and he turned into a bush buck. And he was also vomiting in the same way. He went on in front and he turned into a buffalo. The leopard was coming along. The Adowa antelope, and of course this is the hare in the form of an antelope, vomiting up blood and white charcoal and clay and so forth. And white clay and charcoal, and let's just stop right there real quick, because this is an important ritual piece that the story wouldn't show. In our book, Khanit and Kamit, the Black Nation and Divinity, we're talking about a number of different things, but we're talking about spirit possession and so forth. And when you see the Obosomfo or Okomfo, the priest or priestess being possessed, in our Akan tradition, you'll see, let me pull this out. So this is an Inyame Dria. But then you have the Akan Obosomfo, a class of priests possessed by the deity Tanu. And you see they put the white shirel, the white clay in the form of powder all over the body to show that the individual is possessed. When they possess, they put the white clay. Sometimes they will also put black charcoal and so forth, depending on the spirit, the ancestral spirit of the deity, but this shows that they are in possession. In North America, we would do the same thing. We didn't have the ritual clay. Sometimes people would use, eggshell powder and things like that. But what we would do is take and let's just switch this up real quick. We're going to go to our Akradin Boson book, just so you can see in spirit possession once again. Same Obosomfo, possessed, putting on the white powder, showing that they're in the spirit realm, the quote unquote ghost realm and so forth. And Okomfo, another class of priest or priestess, head wrapped in white, putting the white powder all over the body, And then when you look in ancient Kemet, that represents the mummification of the body. The white powder is the same as the white bandages and so forth, and the white crown and so forth of Asar, the head of the spirit realm and so forth. Putting the body in white is the same as taking the ghost form or the spirit form and so forth. That's mummifying the body. Now here in North America, what we would end up doing is, if we didn't have the white clay, what we would take is, incense. We're burning incense or tobacco leaves or sage leaves or whatever leaves we could use ritually. Once the smoke is, abundant, we would cleanse the person's body and wrap the smoke around the body, but that's wrapping the person with white smoke, wrapping the person with white, quote unquote, bandages, mummifying the person with the white smoke, purifying their aura and so forth. We're doing the same thing with the white smoke that they did with the white shedel or the white clay to spiritualize the individual so they can go into the spirit realm. And what's important about that is Asar, Awusir in ancient Kemet, he is called in Akan, one of his titles is Awusi. Awusi, the one who purifies the death process. Awusi becomes Awusir, Asar, and so forth. But he's Awusi in the Akan tradition. That's his title, the one who purifies death. But the related term in Twi, Wusiu, is smoke or steam. Steam which rises up and is released and so forth. Wusiu, smoke or fume and so forth. So that's dealing with that spiritual force. Just like smoke rises up, in the same fashion when someone transitions, their spirit rises up from their body, like smoke rising up, like steam rising up, like that white, substance rising up in the air and so forth and floating out. Wusiu is smoke or fume, steam and so forth. Awusi is the divinity that overcomes the death process and becomes the leader in the spirit realm and so forth. He's the purified one, the white bandaged one, the one that's wrapped in, purified in white and so forth, with the smoke, the steam, the white, substance. So we purify ourselves by mummifying ourselves with the white powder, or mummifying ourselves with the white wusiu, the white steam or smoke and so forth. We're still engaged in the same process. Now, but there's also, when they put the red ochre on the face or black charcoal, when certain possessions are happening, that's what's taking place. So in this particular story, when they say he took the form of a Adwa antelope and started vomiting white clay, charcoal, and blood, we'll see that white and black and red, and also yellow. These are the sacred colors in our tradition. But so he's vomiting blood like that. Then he turned into a bushbuck. He did the same thing. Then he turned into a buffalo, shape-shifting once again. The leopard comes along, the Adwa antelope, the hair and the form of the antelope, said, "Father leopard, support me for I am dying." The leopard said, "What's the matter?" The Adwa antelope said, "The hare, Adanko, and I went to settle a dispute about corn, and he beat me and I am dying." The leopard said, "Let me pass on." He went on and he met the bushbuck. Of course, this was Adanko the hare in the form of a bushbuck. And the bushbuck was also vomiting, the clay and the charcoal and the blood. And the bushbuck said to the leopard, "Support me, for that hare is not one with whom to have a corn dispute. You don't want it with the hare." Then the leopard said, "What is the matter?" The bushbuck said, "I went and he beat me, and that is why I am dying." And the leopard said, "Let me pass on." So the leopard is seeing two different animals that were dying, vomiting blood and everything. And they both said it was the hare, Adanko, who beat them up because they were disputing about corn. So he said, "Let me pass on." He went on and came across the buffalo. This was the hare, of course, in the form of the buffalo, pretending to be the buffalo. The buffalo says, "Father Osebo, leopard, support me for I am dying." The leopard said, "What's the matter?" The buffalo said, "I went and had a dispute about corn with the hare and he beat me and I am dying." Thereupon the leopard pondered long, and at length he said to himself, I shall turn back, for it is a similar corn case that I have to settle with him, and suppose he beat me. And the leopard began to flee. Immediately the hare too rose up. So now the hare transformed from the buffalo back into his hare form. Once he saw the leopard running, because the leopard was scared, because he thought he was going to get beat up by the hare and be vomiting blood and so forth, he started running. And once he started running, the hare transformed back into his own hare form, and he began to chase behind the leopard. And he chased behind him, and the leopard shouted out loudly, "Female leopard," meaning his wife, "flee away." The leopard reached his home and disappeared into his room, and he took his head and knocked one of the walls and passed through. So he ran through one of the walls head first. And then it says, but the hare caught hold of him by the two hind legs, and the leopard said, "Father hare, let me go." And the hare said, "I will not let you go. I shall beat you." The leopard said, "I implore you, don't beat me, but give me the gods to drink, and swear upon that any path you will follow, I shall come and clear it." And that is why when you take any path at all and see that the leopard has scratched there, you know the hare has passed that way. So in the bush, you know, the hare passes. If you see a clear path, the leopard has gone through, but you know the hare had gone through there as well. That's why you have a clear path. But what's important here is, of course, the hare was shape-shifting, shifting into different animals. That's what a spiritualist does. That's what an Odwirafo, a conjurer, does. We already established the fact that he's an Odwirafo. He was making the the medicine. So he's an Odwirafo, conjurer, root worker, and so forth. And then this one, he was a shapeshifter. So he has that capacity like Obayifo, like a witch, sorcerer, and so forth, to transform his spirit body into different forms. But at the end, the leopard, once he got caught, he was so scared of the hare. He said, "Please don't beat me, but give me the gods to drink, and swear upon that any path you will follow, I shall come and clear it." So what does he mean by "give me the gods to drink and swear upon"? So, and let's just, right here, he says, "Me srewo," I beg you or I implore you. "Ma mi abosom mi nom," give me abosom, talking about the gods and goddesses, give me the abosom to drink. So why is he saying give me the abosom to drink and swear upon? What does that mean? And this is, once, you know, the final proof of what we're talking about. So the term abosom, singular, means deity, a god or goddess, one of the spirit forces that animate the sun, moon, planets, the earth mother, and so forth. You have the earth abosom, the abosom of the sun, abosom of the ocean, abosom of the rivers, abosom of the sky, and so forth, the deities. That's in the Akan language. In the Yoruba language, the popular term is Orisha, the forces of nature. In Eve and Fon, the term is Vodou, the spirits that animate creation. In Akan, it's Obosom, singular, Abosom, plural. So tutelar or guardian spirit of a town or family. This is written in the 1800s. So the European was saying imaginary spirits, subordinate to God, worshipped or consulted by the natives, generally called fetishes by the Europeans, though the term fetish would be better restricted to asuman charm, or to avoid confusion, not be used at all. So, but then you also have the term abosom, a potion drunk when swearing an oath of allegiance or mutual fidelity. Abosom nom, drinking a potion when swearing. So they will call it drinking the abosom, drinking the deity. A potion drunk when swearing an oath of allegiance. If you're going to say, "I swear I will do this," I swear on, quote unquote, on God and so forth, we say, swear on the abosom, the deities. And this is the abosom or the deity's potion. That's when you're swearing oath of allegiance. What kind of allegiance and oath is it? And why is the leopard saying, just give me the gods to drink, meaning give me the abosom to drink, the potion to drink? The plant associated with that title is Aka, and it's a poisonous creeping plant. And it's also medicine or water into which charms, short sticks, or pieces of string, daubed up, redwood, and so forth, are put to be used for an ordeal or trial to determine guilt or innocence. To try by ordeal, to go to attend the Aka ordeal, to undergo the Aka ordeal. The ordeal has decided against him. The ordeal or the fetish water, meaning the deity's water or the deity's potion or drink, has killed him. So what does that mean? When they're talking about the ordeal and you're swearing an oath, so if you swear an oath and you say, well, this is true, this is what I did, I didn't do the other thing you blaming me for, accusing me of, I'm telling the truth, I did not do that, I swear. And they say, okay, well, if you swear, then drink this potion with the Aka. You're going to drink the Aka, which is also called the abosom. Drink the abosom, drink the Aka, because it's a poisonous plant. If you're telling the truth, the poison is not going to kill you. The abosom aren't going to let you die. But if you are lying, then the medicine, the poisonous plant is going to kill you. All right, so go ahead and drink it. And the people who won't drink it because they know they're going to die, because it's a poisonous plant, it's poison. So if you give somebody some poison and say, hey, drink this poison, they're not going to drink it. But if you're swearing on the abosom will allow you to drink it, and they will not allow you to die from that poison. That's when you're swearing an oath. Spiritually, it's also used to go through an ordeal to prove guilt or innocence in spirit possession. We don't just assume that every time someone, is at a ritual and people are drumming and dancing and the spirit possesses and so forth, and the spirit is operating through the person and they're speaking through the person. We don't just assume that they're telling the truth. They might be faking a possession. So if it appears that someone is faking a possession, pretending like the abosom is in them and they're pretending like they're, possessed and trying to mislead people and trying to get people to do something they shouldn't be doing or follow them, one of the elders will take the Aka drink and give it to the person who's pretending to be possessed and say, drink this. If the abosom is really possessing the person, the abosom will allow the person to drink the poison, and they won't allow the poison to kill the person. But if there's no abosom present and the person is faking, if they receive that drink and drink it, they're going to die on the spot. And they'll be too scared to drink it. So if they don't drink it, they're faking the possession. We challenge people when they pretend like they're possessed. See, when people go to, different, even here in North America and some other places, if they've been conditioned a certain way and so forth, as soon as, drums are playing or ritual song or ritual dance happens, and someone gets possessed by an Orisha, possessed by voodoo, possessed by the abosom, possessed by one of the Mmusuo to the divinities in Kemetic tradition, which is, our ancient traditions and so forth. A lot of people just go along with it and just, assume that the person is really possessed. That's not our culture. If you don't know who the person is, if you don't have, a relationship with this individual, or if you haven't worked with the individual spiritually and so forth, your possession can be tested. Drink this poison right now. And if you drink it, then we know that you're really possessed. If you back away, you're pretending like you're possessed and pretending like the deity or the ancestral spirit is moving through you, and all of a sudden, publicly in front of everybody, we give you the drink, now drink it. And then the person backs away, the nigga's lying. So that's what we do. So, but that's part of that ritual process. We test, and verify if these people are crooked. We've been conditioned that we don't have anything here. This is why hoodoo is very important, as well as voodoo in North America. Like Kalinda Laveau is having her Voodoo Conjure Fest. This is her 8th annual festival. It was from October 27th through tomorrow. And we started our festivals at the same time. So we had our 8th annual Hoodoo Mind Festival on October 15th, the 3rd week of our new year. Our Our New Year is September 23rd. That's also the Hoodoo New Year. And for her, the Voodoo New Year is November 1st. It's that midpoint between the equinox and the solstice. Our New Year is on the equinox, September 23rd or 22nd. The Voodoo New Year is on the midpoint, which is November 1st, the midpoint between the equinox and the winter solstice. So, and they're completing that tomorrow, as a matter of fact, in New Orleans. But we test when someone says they're possessed by the voodoo, possessed by the Odwirafo and so forth. In North America, we've always had that process as well, that ordeal as well. We test to see if somebody's really doing real divination. We test to see if they're really possessing. We test, we don't just blindly agree. Because we've been raised and brainwashed in North America to believe that we don't have something. And until this point, like myself and Kalinda LeBeau and other people were putting out real information about our traditions, we assumed we didn't have anything. So we're like, well, we don't have a tradition, so we have to go to Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, wherever, South Africa, to go get initiated and go receive a culture and a name and a priesthood, a priestesshood, or a shrine or more from other individuals and bring them back, because we believe we didn't maintain anything for the past 300 plus years here in North America. Because we falsely believe that we didn't preserve anything. We believe, because we have low self-esteem, many of us, that we couldn't possibly have any real value, that those on the continent have a superior practice and have a superior relationship with the spirits, and we could never have what they have. So we have to go to them like children go into parents to get a tradition and bring it back, which is foolish, but we believe that. Then the way we practice is, whenever somebody who initiated us or taught us the tradition and so forth comes forward and gets possessed and talks about the tradition, we just assume that they're on the up and up. And some of our people are scared to question them about what they're teaching, whether or not it's right or wrong, if they're really possessed, do they know who the deities are there things they're not teaching us because they don't know? We just assume, well, this is the elder, they've been doing this for generations in their family on the continent, they know what they're talking about. Or we go to the Caribbean, like Haiti or Cuba or Brazil and Jamaica and so forth, because we think we have to go and get something from somebody else. People from the Caribbean and South America aren't coming to America, North America, coming to quote unquote African Americans. Like, if we don't go to African Americans, we can't practice our traditional religion in the Caribbean and Haiti and South America, because the African Americans have the real thing and we don't have anything. They don't do that. They just continue practicing their tradition. People on the continent aren't saying we have to come see the African Americans or else we can't practice our religion. We are the only ones who believe foolishly that we have to go to somebody else because we didn't preserve anything in our traditions. But when we teach the real information about hoodoo or voodoo or Ngangan and Wanga, juju and so forth, like we talk about in our first film, we show that we did preserve the priesthoods and priestesses intact. The hoodoo men, hoodoo women, juju men, juju women, voodoo men, voodoo women, Wanga men, Wanga women, Ngangan men, and Ngangan women, and so forth. We preserved all of that. So when we practice the real tradition, yes, we do test possessions, we test divination, we test what people have to say about cosmology and so forth. We don't just absorb it, because many of our people are just following along with what other people have said and remixing it and pretending like they have some knowledge. And then if they've been teaching the same thing for 20 years and their hair starts to get gray, it appears that, oh, they're an elder and they've been doing this for over a generation, they must know what they've been talking about, even though they've been teaching the false information for 20 plus years or 30 years or 40 years or 50. Just like somebody can smoke for 40 years or go to church for 40 years, which is total nonsense. They can also teach misinformation about culture and ancestral religion for 40 plus years. So those things are proof of, number one, Adanko is the hare, it's the rabbit, the jackrabbit in North America, and Adankowaa is the female hare and so forth. Number one, he's an Odwirafo, he's the one that makes the medicine. Number two, he's also, like in the context of Obayifo, which is also Odwirafo, shape shifter, transforming into different spirit entities and so forth. Number three, the leopard implored that he's give me the abosom to drink. give me the sacred medicine to drink that's connected to the deities that will prove whether or not someone is guilty or innocent, because I know that you have that, because you are Odwirafo. You're the one that gives the undu. You're the one who makes the undu. You're the ones who makes the hoodoo. That's the direct relationship linguistically and cosmologically and culturally between the Hare and the Akan tradition and hoodoo, even the word hoodoo itself. No other culture, whether it's from the Congo or Ewe or Fang or Yoruba or any culture coming, from West to Central Africa, has that relationship between the Hare, the word hoodoo, the ritual practice, the cosmology, and of course the talisman. So that talisman, that hare's, foot, that rabbit's foot and so forth, for Akan people, the reason why that's prominent in the hoodoo tradition, you don't have, Yoruba people giving people rabbit's foots and so forth. They're like, well, that's a hoodoo thing. That's in the hoodoo tradition. That comes directly from Akan people. Now, to go even further, and then we're gonna answer some questions. You'll notice that we utilize this symbol, this image, and let's just go out the, we're gonna go to our poll page on our website. This is the same page that we have our New Year observance. You'll notice that this image is the background image for our Po and Obrajida page, and Obrajida is our New Year observance and so forth. And this year we did, it's a 7-day observance. This year was different, where we went ahead and we went live for 7 days in a row. Well, the first 6 days, and then we had to do the 7th day because I went out of town, but I did the 7th day when I came back. But we did that. But you'll see that the background image is this image. So what is that image? That is the shrine. You'll see the kente cloth, and you see these bones and so forth. And then the brass pan, the akyeneboa, you'll see eggs as part of an offering and so forth, and other implements in the brass pan. That is the shrine for a deity. That deity is called Kese Adanko. This is an image from 1971 in the region of Tanoso in Ghana. And that is that is the shrine itself. This is the shrine right here of the divinity Kese Adanko. And this is just a clear image of that. Now, Kese, of course, is one born on Sunday, governed by the deity Awusi. So Kwa Asi is a servant, Kwa, of the divinity Asi or Awusi, which in Akan is Alsar and so forth. As you can see here, even though the dictionary had a little line through it, Adankasa is a term, but Adankun, but Adanko is the hare, as we just saw before. Person who was writing this particular text, they spelled it the way it sounded when they were hearing the person speak, and they hadn't yet agreed upon how they're going to use English words to properly notate the Akan language. That came a few decades later. For example, amongst the Asante people or Anansi, you'll see the word Anansi, the name Anansi, like Anansi the spider. They'll spell it Anansi, A-N-A-N-S-I, or Anansi, A-N-A-N-S-E, because it sounds like Anansi. So they didn't know, should they use, in English, should they use an E or an I? It's really an E, Ananse, but you'll see it spelled Anansi. You'll even see people spell it A-N-A-N-C-Y, Anansi. So they're trying to use English letters to approximate what the sound sounds like. The same thing with Ashanti. It's really the Asante people, A-S-A-N-T-E, Asante. But because the way it's pronounced by different people, it sounds like Asante. And it sounds like some people will spell it with a T-I, Asante. or some will pronounce it Ashanti, but it's really Asante. So you'll see varying spellings in English of these tree terms. The same thing with Adango. The name is actually Adanko. And when he wrote it down, he wrote it Adanko, Kwesi Adango. But that's the shrine for the deity Kwesi Adango. Kwesi, a servant of the divinity Awusi. Now, we talk about the 7 days of the week. The 7 days of the week are named after 7 personal beings or jinni, talking about deities called Ayisi, who is also called Awusi, Ajo, Bena, Wuku, Yao, Afi, and Amen, and so forth. Let's look at our Akradin Boston page to see who those deities are. The deities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week in Akan culture. We are named after Kwesi and Kwajo and Ama and Afua and so forth. We are named after these divinities, the male and female deities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that move in position every 7 days. They govern all natural cycles on Earth. So when you see Akwesi Da or Awusi Da, which is Sunday, the day of Awusi, the female divinity, male and female deities are Awusi and Esi. And then you have females who are named after them, Akosua, Akosuya, Esi on the female side, Kwesi, Kwasi, Akwesi, Sisi, and so forth. And then you have the other days, Joda, you have Ajuwa and Ajo, and you have Ajowa and Kojo or Kwajo. Tuesday, Benada, you have Abena and Kwabena. Wednesday is Akua or Ekua, Akwia, Kweku or Kwaku, like Kweku and Nancy and so forth. Thursday is Yao for males, Ya or Aba for females. Friday is Afi, you have Kofi or Kwafi, Fifi, but then you also have Afia or Afua or Afuia, different variations. And Saturday, Kwame for males and Kwamena, Kwami. And then you have Ama, Amemeniwa, Ami, Ame, and so forth. So we are named after the deities that govern our head. We show in a chart these different divinities, their equivalents in the Yoruba tradition and the Vodun tradition in ancient Kemet. But in our chart here, we show who they are. Awusi in Akan is Awusir in ancient Kemet, operating through the, when he's working with Ra and operating through the solar disk and so forth. Ajwa is Set when she's operating through the moon. Abena is Sechima Sekmet. She's called Sekmet in ancient Kemet. She's also called Bedat in ancient Kemet. She's called Abena in Akan, and she's also called Sechima in the Akan language. You have Bena, who is Heru Bedat, also called Heru Bedet, the winged sun disk and so forth. Heru Bedat is the same as Bena in Akan. So we're showing all the different deities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies in the Akan tradition. The Akan names, the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies. These are the spirits that possess these solar, lunar, and planetary bodies who were named after, and we just show that they also exist in the Akan, in ancient Kemet by the same names and titles. And our books and articles prove that. We also show the different systems of the body that they govern, whether it's the endocrine or reproductive, lymphatic, and all of that. But Awusi in Akan is Awusir or Alsar in ancient Kemet. So a Kwa Asi is a Kwa, a servant of Asi, the divinity Awusi and so forth. That's Kwasi or Kwesi. Now, so we said Ayisi is the name of the divinity. He's also called Awusi. Kwesi Da is Sunday, but it's also called Awusi Da. And Awusi equals Ayisi. The reason why that's important, we put that there, it says OBS, that's short for obsolete. In the 1800s, when this dictionary was written, people were starting to utilize the title Ayisi more often. And the name of the divinity, his title, Awusi, was becoming obsolete. More and more people were saying Kwesi Da for Sunday, even though Awusida also meant Sunday, but Awusida was becoming obsolete in the 1800s. But that's one of the titles of the divinity. Awusi is Ayisi, and we show that in our book. And the reason why one of his titles is Asi, one is Ayisi, one is Awusi, one is Sisi, and so forth. We show what these different titles of the deity mean. But Ayisi was Awusi, the genius or the deity of the day called Kwesida Sunday. The name is also used in addressing a male person born on a Sunday and so forth. Kwesi is Akwa, Ayisi, and all of that. So when we look at this divinity, it's Kwesi or Awusi, the divinity Awusi, Asar, Adanko, Asar, the hare. In North America, that's, the jackrabbit. Here's the form of the deity. And first, on the feminine side, this is Adankowaa, and her sacred animal totem is the hare. That's the female hare divinity in ancient Kemet. When we were reading about Adanko and Adankowaa in this Akan story, Adankowaa, the wife of Adanko, that's her. And her name is Ananko in ancient Kemet as well. This is the rabbit's foot, of course, the hare, but on the male side, this is the male Adanko, the body of a man, the head of the hare. That's one form of the divinity. But then you have Asar Nefer. And Asar Nefer, this is the throne, which is Asa Asi. This is the I, Adi. But the Nefer part is spelled with the hair above a couple of wavy lines of water. That's one of the forms that Asar takes. He takes the form of the divinity. The name is spelled with a hair, and sometimes he has the body of the male and the head of the hare. So hold on, let's pull that up real quick. And what you'll find here is different images of the male and the female hare divinity. So you see it here, you'll see Asar here. And here's another image. And go to that one real quick. Sometimes you'll see so we showed the female divinity, the female hare and so forth. Here's the seated version, seated and shrouded and so forth, the hare divinity. I just wanted to see if I can find another image real quick. Okay, so let me just pull up the, we'll just pull up the dictionary so you can see it. Sometimes you'll see Asar himself. He has the body of a male with the head of a hare sticking out and so forth, and that's Asar Nefer. So Asar Nefer, Asar, the hare divinity, is Awusi Adanko, which is Kwesi Adanko. So now we're talking about the same divinity with the same name in the form of a deity, and not just a little mythical character in a folktale. And in the meantime, you can post some questions because this is the final piece. I just want to show you the image of the spelling, but that's just the images, the information I want to share with you tonight. So I'm done with that. I just want to show you this final image, but you can post some questions in the chat room on anything that we've gone over. Actually, you know what? We actually have this in our Etchy Sign book. So let me look at that. No. Okay. Okay, so I just want to find, there are a couple of different spellings of the name of the deity, so I just want you to see both of them. And there are a number of different variants, but so first you will see, so we just saw Nefer, and you see the hair above the wavy lines of water. And the difference between a rabbit and a hare can actually swim. So you see here, Unuit, the hare goddess, a watcher of the beer of Alsara and so forth. Unuit, or Unut, the name of a goddess, but this is the hare goddess, and you see the form of the hare right here. Also Unun, the serpent on the royal crown, that's the same hare divinity. But then Un, the god of existence, the son of Apet, that's the masculine side, but let's keep going down so we can get a little bit more information. And you'll also notice that we did a whole broadcast on this and Unut, meaning being and existence and so forth, and the hours of the day and so forth. You'll see Unun to spring up, to leap, and that's the hare and so forth. So it has to do with the cycles of time and synchronized events and a number of different things. But we actually did a class that's on Hoodoo in the second Hoodoo class where we go into some detail about that. And then there are priests of the Unu and so forth that are priests of the lay priests in the temple and so forth who are named after that. So the same Unun that you saw with the hair and so forth, you'll also see the hair right here and the little receptacle here, which is the G sound. So this is not Ung. We know the proper pronunciation, and then Ungit, the feminine, and you see the hair once again, the hair goddess. But that's not Ung and Ungit, that's Unungu, Unungu, and this is Unungu, Ununguat, Unungat. In Akan, that's Unungu becomes Adungu or Adanko. Adunko becomes Adanko, and this is Adankowaa. This is, so in ancient Kemet, Unungu became, in Akan, Adungo. Go. And what is it? The divinity whose name is spelled as the form of the hare, and Onongat, which is Adongat, Adankowaa, Adankowaa, and so forth. That's the feminine hare divinity. So they're spelled two different ways. Some with the nasal N, which becomes an NG, as opposed to just N, it's ng. So you have Unung, Unun, UN, Unun or Unungu, or Ununu. But then you also have the variation with the G on it, Unung, Onungo, and Onungoa, which becomes Adonko and Adankowaa, 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 and so forth. So this is the male and female hare divinity. That's Onongowat, which becomes Adankowaa and Akan. That's her. And the male divinity is Adanko, Adanko, and all of that. Asar in the form of Nefer, the hare divinity, and so forth. So we're talking about deities, the same deities from ancient Kemet. Ananko and Adankowaa become Adanko and Adankowaa. Onungu and Anunkowaa becomes Adanko and Adankowaa and Akan. And the male and female hare in the Hoodoo tradition. He is a hoodoo. He's an Odwirafo or Hoodoo Yefo, the one who is a conjurer, makes medicine. He's a shapeshifter. He gives the poison drink, the abosom drink, the divine drink, the abosom, the drink of the divinities, to prove guilt or innocence that can take your life and so forth, the arbiter between life and death and so forth with regard to morality. So all of that proves the rabbit's foot talisman is the sacred animal totem implement for Adanko and Adankowaa, Onunko and Adankowaa. So okay. So when that, the question, can we become that high of a level of which, Odwirafo, et cetera, and how, or is it something that you're born with? Typically the Bayi is something that somebody is born with. That's just that higher psychic power. And Obayifo means male or female, someone who's born with that Bayi, that higher psychic power, and is used for certain things. Priests and priestesses have that as well, but in addition to that, they deal with medicine and connecting with the divinities. But some people just on a lower level, they have that, someone who's clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and so forth, in these different ways to see or hear beyond the physical world. And Obayifo is not always, operating in harmony with the abosom. Some people have that that psychic power, and they just, they can, just like physically, you can see farther than somebody else, or you can hear better, or you can feel things, you can feel cold or heat easier because you're more sensitive. Sometimes people spiritually, they can see beyond the physical, they can see spirits walking around, they can hear spirits speaking, they can feel them move through the room and so forth. So that's on a lower level, that's Bayi. But when you have the Bayi that's connected with the abosom, then, that's a different level. Typically people are born with it, but there are ritual processes that people pass that through their matriclan or patriclan blood circles, typically the matriclan blood circle. But another question, does Ra, which is in Yonkompon, also have a proper day name? So in Yonkompon, the Kradin or day name for Yonkompon is Kwame. And let's just show the reason for that. So Kwame is Amen Men. So you'll typically hear in Yonkompon, Kwame or Kwame in Yonkompon. And we mentioned that in one of our books, in the book on the Yonkompon and Yonkompon, Ra and Raet. We were talking about Ra being Yonkompon and proving that's who it is in the Akan tradition. But there's a form of the deity Men called Men Ra. That's the union of the deity Men operating in harmony with Ra and so forth. That's why Ra, who is in Yonkompon, is connected to the deity Men. So, and Men, of course, Amen Men, someone born on Men Minida, which is Saturday, is Kwa Minna or Kwame or Kwame and so forth. And That's the association when Nyankompon or Ra is operating in harmony with men or possessing the same body and so forth. That's Ra and men, or men and Ra working together. That's in Nyankompon. And Kwame or Kwamena, that's in Nyankompon Kwame. And that's from the temple of Seti at Abju and so forth, that form of men, Ra. Now that, an Akan person who hadn't studied anything about ancient Kemet, they wouldn't know that in Nyankompon is Ra. We had to prove that in our book. And they wouldn't know the relationship between when Ra and men, or Amen men, are possessing the same body. Just like we talked about spirit possession. If you're in a car and you're driving and then somebody gets in the car and you get in the back seat and they take over the wheel, it's two individuals in the same vessel. When spirit possession happens, the spirit gets inside the body. Now there are two spirits inhabiting the same vessel, and the one that possesses in control and so forth, but there are two entities. So when Ra and Amen men are possessing the planet Amini, which is Saturn on Saturday, Minminida and so forth, that's men, Ra working together, or Ra and Amen working together. That's in Nyankompon, Ra, Kwame. And this is why Nyankompon has the praise name, or the Kradim, soul name, Kwame. All right. So since we weren't able to get that on YouTube, we're going to upload this to YouTube so people can see that. One thing that is coming up, there are a few things that are coming up this weekend, this Saturday in Philadelphia. We're having the Ma'a and Ma'at workshop presentation. I'll be doing that, traveling to Philly. We'll be dealing with the male deity Ma'a and the female divinity Ma'at, male and female forces of divine law and balance. We have a few spaces left open for that. The registration fee is $20, which includes a full vegan lunch. So you can go to the page and register for that. That's in Philadelphia. Our Kanche Films website, our first annual Kandre Film Festival, Kanche, is this November 26th, less than 4 weeks away. We'll be premiering our new film, Hoodoo, Akan Ancestral Religion in North America, and other films as well. That's going to be here in Washington, D.C. at the Arc Theater. This is the Arc Theater in Washington, D.C. So we have a certain number of tickets for that. This is the theater here. It's a 365 seat theater. We have people who purchased tickets already, so we have some seats left, but it's, as you can see, it's a finite number of seats, number of tickets, and once those are sold, that's it. So if you would like to attend the festival, it's an all-day festival. We'll have vendors, presentations, the films, discussions, and so forth. So that is November 26th, Washington, D.C. Go to our Kanche Films site and you can purchase tickets for that. That happens to be the same weekend of the Thanksgiving fake holiday. So a number of people will be home for that, but that's that Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's all-day event and so forth. So we look forward to connecting with everyone on that day. And for those who are interested in our upcoming trip to Kemet, our tour to Kemet, the next one is May 23rd through May 31st. So we'll be going to 12 cities from northern Kemet all the way into southern Kemet and into Khanit, Nubia. When you look on our page, you will see that we have posted 13 videos, different clips, scenes from the recent trip, mainly from the recent trip that we did to Kemet back in May. So you look at these videos and see the different places that we're going and where we, what we were doing and so forth. But we do have some spots available for the trip to Kemet in May. You can, of course, we have an installment payment option. So when you make a deposit to secure your space, then you can make payments monthly, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and the beginning of May until you pay it off. Of course, some people, as we show here, that they'll make some payments, and then when their tax refund comes, they can pay the rest off. So, but that installment payment option is available. So when you go on the page, you can put your deposit in, and then you'll have your spot is secured, and then you can pay monthly to pay the trip off. So, but that is coming up in May, and we do have a few spaces open for that. And the final thing, when you look on our Akyeneboa page on our website, which is an institution page, to date we've done 34 courses. Some were 6-week courses, some were 4-week courses. We had a couple of 7-week courses, and then we have 13-week manhood and womanhood course, but 34 courses. This is a collage of them, but when you scroll through the page, you'll see the flyers for the original course, and you'll see the discounted rate. So the 6-week courses, you'll see that all of them are 50% off. So the 6-week courses, $15. The 4-week courses are $10. The 13-week manhood course and the 13-week womanhood course, all of these are archived now. Those are $44. But when you look on the site, you will see you can access those. You can purchase one or more courses, and you'll have unlimited access to the link and the passcode, so you can look at those sessions. The books that we deal with, our 31 books are free downloads, so you can access those as you're studying the course, plus the other information that we introduce in the course, we give you access to that as well. So all of these different courses, we also 9 of them, as you can see right here, the 9 Hoodoo courses. We have a little special for all 9 for $50. So for a $50 fee, you can get the 9 Hoodoo course set. Some of them were 6-week courses, some of them were 4-week courses, and so forth. So you can get the entire 9-week course set for $50. That's a discount. But when you look through our 34 different courses, you can get one or more. Excuse me. So people are, studying the courses. If they see specific topics that they're interested in, you can get that particular 6-week course. And once again, you have, unlimited access to the link and the password. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and end it here. It's after 10 o'clock. We want to say, we thank you for joining in. And once again, Yebeshia Bio, we will meet again.